Okay, so we're getting pretty good at making these screens, and conveniently enough, the next couple screens that we have to do to finish this are fairly simple. And let's go ahead and clear the clutter that we have and exit out a couple of these. Let's keep the template.psd open because we're going to use that as our template. Go figure. I've already saved all of these. Content. Save. Save, and let's exit out of feature.psd. Okay, so now all we should have open is our template that we've created, and I'm going to minimize these boxes, make it top bar. There we go. Let's minimize and open our screenshots folder and grab the next screenshot on the list, and that is our search.png. And this is relatively simple. It is going to require us to change a file in our template. This top bar, it's a little bit longer. It makes room for a search bar. So other than that, though, it looks like we just have some text on the screen, which will be very easy. Let's go ahead and unlock this background layer. And I'd like to move this onto our template. And let's drag it to the top. Okay. And let's delete this reference layer that we have. It's no longer needed. And we're going to call this reference. Great, now let's go ahead and center our new reference layer so it is smack dab in the middle of the canvas. I'm going to turn on snap so it'll just snap right in place. So snap to the left. Drag it up while holding shift. There we go. Nope, not quite. Should be perfect. All right, let's go ahead and hide this. Now we need to change our top bar that we created earlier. It's going to have to be this low. So let's grab a guide really quickly and measure this out. And that looks perfect. I'm going to start zooming into 200% so we can see a little bit better. Make sure that's in the right spot. It is. And let's hide our reference. Let's go into our top bar and let's just select our background layer. And with that selected, we're going to grab our rectangular marquee tool. We're going to start in the top left corner. We're going to drag down. And we're going to go all the way across until we touch this guide. Now with our paint bucket tool and our color chosen as this green with the eyedropper tool, select it. Let's fill this in. There, now we've made room. Let's deselect by hitting Control D. Review our reference real quick. We can hide this left layer, the categories layer, and we need to change the feature to search. So I'm just going to grab my text tool. This is already centered, so we can just change this to searched. And I'm going to scroll down to the text layer categories, and I'm just going to hide this. And there, it's no longer there. Now we need to create our search bar. And I just want to draw out the guide real quick for the search bar. Let's drag it to the top, both sides, and the bottom. Now I'm going to use a rounded rectangle tool to draw this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see the guide perfectly. And I have the radius set to 17 pixels. That's going to be the exact radius of this button, or sorry, this search field. If I look at my guide pretty closely, I can tell that it's just a little bit too low. So let's drag it up. I'm going to take snap off because it's not snapping properly. Just up a tad, and let's drag this up just a tad, and that looks perfect. I'm going to grab my rounded rectangle tool, hold it right up here in the corner where my two guides meet. Oh, before I drag it, I'm going to change the foreground color to white. And I'm going to drag this. And that looks pretty much perfect. A little bit off, but that would be literally splitting pixels. and we're going to drop it right there. And I'm going to rename this search field. Alright, we can hide our reference layer, see what that looks like. And the last thing we need to do is add this little icon here. And that'll be easy. I'm just going to drag this here, drag it to the other side right here, and then get the size of the circle. Perfect. Let's grab our ellipse tool, our circle tool, and drag this out. And this is an exact circle, so if we hold shift, it'll make it the exact same size. Perfect. That ellipse is white. Let's change it to color overlay. Let's change it to the same color as this stem that's still poking out. There we go. That's perfect. And we're just going to create this little line right here. And I'm not going to use the reference to do that. Before we do that, we need to narrow it down a little bit. Let's grab this ellipse layer. Let's rename it. Call it magnify. And while holding control, we're going to click on the thumbnail to grab the lines around it. Select, modify, and of course we're going to contract this, and we're going to do it by 3 pixels. Okay, and let's delete the content in the middle. We're not allowed to yet. We got to rasterize the layer. Layer, rasterize, and rasterize the shape. Delete the content in the middle. Perfect, and all we need to do now is draw that little line. Before that, Control or Command D to deselect our current selection. Let's grab our line tool. Make sure this is set 3 pixels, so it already is. And I'm just going to drag this down like this. And if you hold shift, that looks about right. Just need to change the color, double click, come down to color overlay, make sure it's the same color, and it is. Let's bring up our reference layer. Close enough. That looks pretty good actually. So let's zoom out and see what we just created. I'm going to select the status bar, and there you go. The first part of this screen is done.